Hi everyone, my name's Will, the Paint Beast, and in this video we're going to paint some Hive Fleet Gorgon. We're going to get into this straight off the bat after my title card, so just to say, if you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, and if you are interested in checking out my Patreon, the link is below. And with that said and done, let's get painting. Okay, so we're going to take this Gene Stealer from this colour to looking like this. Now this is kind of almost a direct follow-on from my first video, which will be in the corner here, that sort of tackles underpainting. And in that video I mentioned how you can use different colours as your basis for underpainting, and that's true here. We're going to sort of start off with a midway between something that's very plain and something that's a bit more extravagant, like a purple base. And we're going to use some Xandri dust to prime this. That's the Games Workshop primer. Let's grab it here. So that's this one. It's a good sandy colour. It's like if you want to experiment a bit more with your undertones, this is quite a good colour to sort of start practicing on. Whoops. And it's a really good one for like basing for greens and stuff like that as well. So that's why I chose it for my Hive Fleet Gorgon scheme. So where do we start? Well, let's list out the equipment. So we've got, as always, our 2 pots of clean water, our paper towel that comes in handy when layering. We've got a paint mixing tray. You can see why I use this thing in this video, which is listing out sort of like cheap tools and stuff. We've got our brushes. So I've just got a regular old brush here, size 0. You can use any brush as long as it keeps its point. And then for dry brushing, you can use a makeup brush like this. At the moment I'm trying to learn a bit more about Artisopus brushes, which I really enjoy using, so I'll be using these, but bear in mind if you can't stretch your budget to cover a set of these, you can maybe just get one, or if not, just get a cheap set of makeup brushes. Again, in that same video I talk about them. To sort of use as a texture palette, we're going to use this bit of wood. That'll help us when we're dry brushing. And then also underneath there, I've got my wet palette ready for when we move on to the layering stages. Just to quickly list out the colours, we have got, let's see if I shove this across it all. We've got Screaming Skull, Ushabti Bone, Corax White, White Scar, Plaguebearer Flesh, which is one of my new favourite colours, Skeleton Horde, Magos Purple, Contrast Medium, Ogryn Camo, Black Templar, Administratum Grey, Caribou Crimson, and then Fulgrim Pink. And some of these come into this colour scheme once or twice, but we're just going to keep it to those colours unless I've forgotten any. Right, so where do we begin? Well, we take our piece of wood, we take one of our dry brushes. We're going to take our large dry brush to start with, and we're going to just dab a tiny bit of water on the wet palette and then just swizzle the brush in there like that. We're going to take our first colour, which is going to be Ushabti Bone, which is the next sort of volume colour up from this, and then apply some to the paintbrush and to the board. So we're just going to put a dab on here and just work that into the board until we get until we can see that it's depositing the pigment, and it's still a little bit wet, which is what we want. So as we did in that other video, we're just going to kind of, as a first step, just heavily dry brush all over this mini using the large brush. Go back to the paint and the palette if we need more, and just carry on like this. And you don't have to be precise with this layer at all. This is just picking out all of the large areas and just making sure that, you know, when we put that contrast colour on, we're sort of automatically building highlights and volumes. So I think I'm going to try a different tactic with this video, because my videos tend to be quite long. I'll keep all the footage in, but I might speed some of it up. So I'll keep all of my talking, but I'll speed the footage up so that you don't have to sort of wait around while I'm finishing this. But this layer, you know, probably don't need to do that, because it's really quick on this one, because we're not too worried about where the colour goes. We're just making sure that you know, we can swizzle it in there if we need to. We're just making sure that most of the miniature has got that sort of contrast between the shabty bone and the Xandri dust. Now I haven't done enough here, because you can see like there's no definition on these ridges. So again, we'll go back to the wet palette. Sorry, the dry brush palette, piece of wood. Put some more on our brush, and then we can just. Some of the hairs on these will fall off because these ones are fairly new, so it's sort of still like breaking the brush in. But yeah, other than that, it's kind of just like painting a layer on at this stage. And anything underneath, just get your brush in there and just swizzle it out. There you go, that'll do for that layer. I'm just going to move my light. That's probably better like that. Right, yeah, that's much better. Okay, cool. So the next step, we're going to jump up the volume a bit. So we're going to put our shabty bone down. We're going to take the next step. So this is where we talk about sort of stepping up the color volume from this color, which is slightly darker than this color, and go to this one. And again, in the same manner, shake it up, shake it up, put a bit of water on the wooden board, muddle it in there. If you think you've got too much water on the paint on the brush, just dab it on a bit of paper towel. Don't do that too much, because it will take all of the moisture out. And then again, just like model this on the texture palette, and then you're good to go. And what we're going to do this time is we're just going to focus on the top areas. We're not going to go inside to the chest and that. That's a bird. Right. 1 second. Like I said, we're just going to just focus on the top. You'll see instantly that's a lot brighter, but we're only catching the really very top surfaces, and we are leaving like a layer on there. We're not doing like, you know, this only the sort of ridges. We're making sure that we're building these volumes of light using this brush. And it doesn't quite reach the deepest recesses, which is really good. We don't want that. We literally just want it just on the top. You can be really, really quick about it. You don't really need to be too precise. I'm going to just go a little bit on the top of the chest and the top of the legs in there, but that's really pretty much it. And now you've got a good gradual gradient between the two colours, and you can't really see it here on the camera, but that's okay. It's that method of, you know, putting the darker colour on before the light that we need to get into the habit of. Now this brush is done, so I'm going to put that aside and ready for cleaning. I'm just going to take some more of the paint out just by dabbing a lot of water on the wooden board, and then just wiping it away using the paper towel. I can put that aside, and then we're going to use our sort of medium Artis Opus brush. I'm going to do exactly the same that we've done just now, but with Corax white. So give it a good shake. Open that up. It's a horrible chunky paint this, but it goes on really well. I'm going to put a tiny bit of water on the board, swizzle the paintbrush into it just to introduce a bit of moisture. Put a tiny drop of paint on that brush. You can't see because it's not focusing. And then do the same thing that we did before. But this time, we're just going to target a few areas. We're going to do the tops of the arms, the carapace, and the head. And we're just going to do a downward motion on this one. So top, down, top, down, top, down, just to simulate the light. And this will pick out all of the top raised edges. And we'll go over it maybe twice. and at each time we need to put more paint on the miniature. We'll go back to the pot. We'll put more on. Do it again. And each time we feel it's getting a bit too dry, we'll just pop a little bit more moisture in there. Like that. A bit overexposed. And what you might see that some of the paint is pulling away from the, you can see it on here, that line next to my fingernail, that line there, that's where the paint from the last layer hasn't quite dried properly. Like I've not left it long enough before I've gone back. So the best thing to do is just maybe wait a couple of minutes between layers, just so that doesn't happen to you. And we're just going to keep carrying on around, just the highlighting the top, very top areas, just like this. Focusing on the bits that we want to stand out. So that's the face, the hands, and the carapace on the back. And then after we've done this layer, there's just one more to do, and that's the very much the brightest white, which is going to be white scar. You know, you can tailor this to your preference, right? You can put more paint on the brush, less paint on the brush, whatever you want, to make it look more vibrant maybe, or less vibrant. Maybe you like a really grim, dark, gritty style. There you go, so that's that. And then on the very, very last layer, we're going to use some white scar. We'll do exactly the same thing, drop of moisture on the palette, dip it in there. There's a bit too much water on there now. Shake this up. Again, this is another horrible, horrible chunky paint. So you can use any white you want. Don't feel as though you have to stick to this color range. All we're going to do in this part, we're just going to focus on the hands, the face, and just the ridges on the back. So we're going to go right at the very top. Just give that sense that that's where the light's coming from. On the face, we can go up and down on the face just to catch all of the details. This isn't supposed to be anything too difficult or technical. It's just getting the paint on there and getting these guys ready for battle. I haven't really got this carapace on here. There, I think, there you go, that's that done. So that's kind of underpainting using a different tone. Again, watch the other video if you want to learn how to do that all the way through from black to white. But this is how you do it on like a sandy sort of brown colour. Again, I want to clear this now, so we're going to put a bit more water on there and then just swizzle that about. There you go. Excellent. So next step is going to be using some Plague Bearer flesh. And we're just going to apply this directly to the mini. So we're going to give it a really good shake, like we should do with all our paints, especially contrast, because the pigment tends to separate really easily. And we're going to just take it straight from the pot, and then start applying it to all of sort of the flesh on the miniatures. We don't have to be too precise with this. We need it to pool like a contrast paint should, and it needs to make those puddles in the dark recesses to show shadows and stay light. And that's why we did this gradient. So you can see already there's a different variation of colour in here, but it's still bringing some of the brown through. And all we're going to do is just do that all over the fleshy parts. this does, I mean, this doesn't take too long. This is a nice one just to, you know, maybe you've got a couple of models to do in the evening. So sit down. You can either batch paint them out in groups of 10, or, you know, just focus on one, maybe one an evening. Get it done in 10 days. Because it doesn't need to be too neat. The Hive Fleet Gorgon is quite organic. There we go. And of course you will need to let this dry, so there'll be time to get on with other things, or, you know, if you're painting these in a batch, by the time you've got around to maybe number 10, number 1 will be dry, and you'll just be able to carry on. You've got to be a little bit careful when it comes to the back here, because you don't really want this green to get on the armour plates, because we're going to be putting another colour on them soon, and we don't want that colour to, sorry, we don't want this green colour to shine through, although it's not really a big deal because we will be highlighting those areas as well. So there we go. Try and hold your wrists together, as I've said in other videos, to give yourself a bit more stability. It's one of the keys to miniature painting. Just make sure that your hands are stable and that you don't shake around too much. And if you shake, so I was shaking earlier today, right? I'd been exercising and my arms were a bit achy, so I was shaking, but because I had my wrists held together, didn't cause too much of a problem. So if you find that your hands shake and you don't hold your wrists together, just try it. And if you do hold your wrists together and they still shake and you still think it's impossible, just keep practicing. So that's all you can do, is just keep practicing, and then one day you'll get it. Because I didn't start being able to do any of this painting malarkey. Everyone starts at level 0. I'm just going to keep working all that paint in there. You know, if it pulls anywhere too much, we can just draw that out with the brush, but fortunately I don't seem to have done that quite yet, which is good. Right, let's do the legs on this side. I really like this Plague Bearer flesh colour. I think it's, for something that's like kind of drab, it's got so much just rich colour in it. It's really weird. I really do enjoy painting with it, and it flows off the brush beautifully. Some contrast paint don't, and it's quite difficult. But this one, oh, what a joy. Don't worry about getting paint on the claws at this stage, because we're going to be painting those black, so that doesn't really matter. Cool, so where are we at? We've got the arms to do and the head, and then we're done on this layer. I'm just going to shake the paint up once again. There we go. Come back, and then we're going to do the arms. We're going to purposely leave some of the details like this bone colour, because we want to put a nice layer of Caribou Crimson over them to make them look sort of pink and organic. And that's a good way of sort of showing organicness in Tyranids, is paint sort of the main body one way, but then introduce a sort of a shade that looks quite, you know, bloody, or whoops, that's all right. Don't mean to go over there, but that's fine. We've got most of the sort of underpainting still on it. yeah, so just pick a colour that sort of gives the feeling of internal like organs, like a deep brown or a reddy pinky blood sort of colour. Right, almost there for this one. Just got to get that. Now you could probably use a bigger size brush for this just to get the contrast paint on there quicker. I chose to not do that this time for some reason. But I think it's because it makes it easier when it comes to these areas here. We're just going, we'll see, we're not even really worrying about where this paint is pooling now, because we're trying to get this done, and no matter where it pools, it'll still look organic and natural. Oops. Oh, that's a good rule of thumb for minis, is I've just touched the paint on that bit, I didn't mean to. Does it matter? No. Just got to say, oh well, and carry on. And then just keep having fun. Keep having a lot of fun. Right. See, I don't really care too much about this brush. Usually I'll be going back to the water pot every 5 seconds, but not too fussed at this stage about that. Okay, so last part of this, just gonna be careful around the carapace on top. Just making sure we don't touch it, or if we do touch it, it's not too bad. Then we will just put it down to dry and move on to the next. Well, actually, no, we don't need to put it down to dry. We can just move on to the next part of the miniature, which will be the carapace. There's that. I mean, that's quite, I've missed a couple of bits, but no one's going to notice when this is on the tabletop, when it's about 6 foot away. So yeah. Right, the next colour, we're going to do exactly the same thing on the carapace, but with good old skeleton horde. So shake it up. Just wash the brush, make sure all that green is off there. We're going to do exactly the same thing now, but with a skeleton horde. Just making sure to almost just stain these areas. You don't need it to pool too much. You've got like a natural highlight from the whites and the cream colours. Then again, just do this. Now I would probably leave the other colours dry a bit more before I moved on to this, but just for the purpose of this video, I think it's okay. Just as long as I don't touch the green, it won't seep up onto the carapace. The chitinous, is it chitin or chitin? Put your answer in the comments below. There you go, look, just accidentally touched a bit there, but that's fine. Put that in my mouth. Right, so that's that. Put that on this side. Again, we're just going around quickly. You could, after this step, you could do the black claws, the sort of organic areas, and then you could stop right, and then it's tabletop ready. We are going to push it a little bit further than that, but not too much further. There you go. Okay, cool. So that's all of the skeleton horde. No, it's not. The head. There you go. Excellent. Cool. So what's next? Well, I think I've spotted a bit that I could probably. Okay. That's fine. I want to do under here actually. With the skeleton horde, I missed that bit. There you go. and on this side, just to make it quite good. Right, I do need all of that to dry now. So is there anything we can do while we move on? Yeah, we can probably do the claws. So we're going to skip past a few paints and get the Templar black on there. Again, give it a good shake. And then we're going to just pop this on the claws, like this. Don't worry if you go a little bit over the green, because we're going to tidy all that up. It's where a more precise brush really helps, because that's just a bit more precise at this stage. Round and round we go. It's got these sort of dew claws on the back there, D-E-U. You've got the, oh, I've touched it, that's fine. You've got these sort of fingernails. Just there. And then the rending claws, I think they're called rending claws on Gene Stealers. These are kind of like the efficiencies you can make while using contrast paints. It's like if you can identify areas that you can paint that won't affect the others, do it. So then you don't have to spend as much time waiting for stuff to dry. Although waiting for stuff to dry is, you know, still valuable, especially if you're painting more than one miniature at a time. Usually this will take me a little bit longer to do, but we're just going to keep it like this for now. Teeth will be white, so we're not going to do the teeth in the same colour as this, as the claws. The eyes will be pink to match like sort of all the other fleshy bits. Okay, cool. So that's kind of all the contrast paint blocked in the way we need it. I might just go back in and put some Play Bearer flesh just up under the arms and on the back, so I can see a few gaps, because I'm whipping through this. Right, there we go, just in there where I've missed bits. I can see a missed bit there, and I can see a missed bit here. And there. There we go. Now what we're going to do, I'm just going to put that down. We're going to wait for it to dry. Okay, right, I think that's pretty much dry now. I've got a tiny little bit in the centre that's not quite dry, but that's not going to affect the next part. So what's the next thing we need to do? Well, I'm going to take our mixing tray, which is just like a little fidget thing, and we're going to mix some Magos purple with some contrast medium, and I'm just going to get I have some pipettes here, and you can get these from Amazon and stuff, and I'm going to take some contrast medium. I think I'm just going to take one drop of that. Ooh, so 1, 2, 3, I've taken, there's 3 in there. Just want to mix up a fair amount of this because I'll be using it after this video as well. And then so I put 4 drops in there. I'm going to be doing the same with this one. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 in for extra. 1 extra for luck, so 5. So it's a 4 to 5 ratio. Right. I'm going to mix that in. Wash the brush. Now this is going to be like, this is going to make the whole centre line of this miniature look more organic. So when I say centre line, I mean from focus. So from the mouth all the way, sort of, if you draw a line through the main body of the creature there, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting the colour on and drawing it towards the centre, so up towards the centre, and then on the limbs towards the centre, and the main body towards the centre. And we're going to put some on the hands as well, just to make it look a bit more organic. So we're going to take our colour, lay it up on the brush, and we're going to watch the magic happen. So do that all along. If you think it's too strong, you can take some off. So I think it's a little bit too strong. So you can just dry the brush on a piece of paper towel and just take it away from where it's pulled. And that there is going to be done everywhere the body meets a limb or the body is sort of showing. That kind of just gives it a nice sort of organic variation. That's what we want our Tyranids to look like, right? They're not robots like Necrons or, you know, pristine warriors like Astartes or anything like that. These are beings of pure sort of Orwellian horror. And my rule here is I start at the segment and I draw towards the sort of centre of the body. It doesn't really matter how neat it is because, again, these should be fairly organic beings. And when we get into the middle, we're just going to spread it around. Spread that around when you get to the middle. There you go. Where else? So I also do some on the face just to give that a bit more depth. Make sure it doesn't pull too much, and if it does, again, dry your brush off, wick it away with the tip of the brush. There we go. So that's that side done. We're going to put some on this guy's thighs. Sit there, do this. Again, starting sort of halfway down or to the end of this, near the knee, and just sort of bringing up towards the centre of the creature. This little gene stealer. And then just do the same on the other side. If you think you've gone too hard, just redistribute the paint in other areas. Okay, so that's kind of given us a bit more of an alien look to that, which is great. And, you know, for all intents and purposes, that's almost done with the exception of this colour here. And you could go over that with the same colour, right? And that would still look pretty good. We'll be going over those bits with Caribou Crimson. We do need to let this dry because the next step is like another dry brush, which will be of Ogryn Camo, so Camo, not Camel, Ogryn Camo, just to pick out the highlights. But what we're going to do is we're just going to let this just sit and dry again for another 10-20 minutes. Okay, so that's dry now. What we're going to do is just give it a little bit of dry brush with a similar colour to the most top highlight on the flesh, and then we should be good to just start finishing it, really. So let's get our green camo, shake it up. We're going to go back to our dry brushes. I did clean them and put them away, but let's get them back out again. So again, shake, shake, shake. So open it up, get rid of all the horrible Games Workshop hot bits. If you have a preference on types of paint, keep them to yourself, because it's just paint. The pots are different, yeah, I know sometimes they're annoying, but it doesn't really matter. Maybe the cost matters to some people, actually. That's probably the biggest benefit of not using Games Workshop paints. Anyway, so actually you could use this Fantasy Flight game. So that's a very, very similar colour. It's a bit more lime green, so I'm not going to be using it for that, but you could try that as well. I'll list that in the description. Okay, so what we're going to do here, no, still not dry enough. Let's just, it's quite a wet paint, this one, because it's fairly new. So rub that into the bristles. And then what we're going to do here, just on the very ends, we're not going to go over too much, so we're going to try and stay away from the carapace bits, and we're going to try and stay away from the claws, but just where you can see the natural highlights, we're going to just bring our brush just across those, just to sort of give it a bit more of a highlight. Blend that sort of purpley colour in, just give it a bit more depth. And when you're on the face, you can sort of like wiggle it around a bit, because we want this face area to stand out. And we want people to sort of just look at it and go, oh wow, that's pretty cool. Now I must admit, I did forget to put some of that mixture on the hands, like I said I was going to do. So I'll do that in a minute, but we're just worried at the moment about just getting a little bit of a highlight, a little bit of a blend using this dry brush. As you can see, I haven't had to go back to the paint yet. I think this will probably do us. As you can see here, I'm not actually putting the bristles on this carapace. It's got a tiny little bit over there, but that's fine. We're going to highlight those with another brush. So it's actually quite easy to control this. You just, if you think you can't, just go slow. There we go. That kind of blends everything in just a little bit. Just gives it that extra sort of touch of detail, I'd say. Okay, cool. Next. What we need to do next. See this Caribou Crimson? Shake it up and take our brush, and we are going to pop that into all of the joints and I don't know what you'd call these bits, these stripy bits, but we're going to put it on there. If they have a name from like a book or something, or like I think I've got the book Xenology. I'm not sure if they dissect a Tyranid in Xenology, but if there's a book or a piece of lore somewhere that shows us how, shows what they're called, I'd be very interested to know. Anyway, so we've got these little bits at the back here. Oh, before I forget, let's go back and we'll just do the hands and the palms and the soles of the feet with this Magos purple and contrast medium. Just gives it that extra little punch that will get people looking at it and thinking, oh, that looks, you know, like it could be real, because the colour's sort of, it's not just one colour. On the hands. That one as well. I'm literally just being really random about this, because the paint will do the work for us. Oops, there you go. Remember, you know, it's okay to forget about bits and then go back and do them later. I do it all the time. There's no shame in it. Okay, there we go. Quickly fixed. So this shade is going on all of the sort of bits that jut out or connect to the inner body. So we can do that there. On the wrists. There we go. Sort of these elbows. And the way that I do this is I always do a leg. I work my way up and around the body, so I make sure I do everything on this leg, then everything on this arm, then everything on this arm, because you have to get to that sort of rhythm so that you don't forget bits. Because there are a few of this squad that I've painted, and I've picked them up to do the next step, and I've gone, oh, I've missed that arm, or oh, I've missed the stripy bits on that one's arm, or I've missed the wrists on that one there. If you get too much on your brush, just dab it a little bit on a piece of paper towel and go back, just draw it away. On the undersides of the elbows as well, on these bits on the wrists, that kind of makes a nice transition between the purple you put on there and that red, which is great. So have I done it on this wrist? No, let's see, I forgot a bit there. I wasn't sticking to my own rule. In between the legs, sorry, in between these legs, there's like some sinewy bits. My God, sir, you have some sinewy bits between your legs. I'll do this on the mouth as well, make it look like he's been chewing on something. Just here, just make that really gribbly. Well, it looks like he's got a nosebleed. Let's just wipe some of that away. There we go. But yeah, using shades and stuff for like representing blood and you know, all that sort of stuff. It's a viable tactic. You'll need to build up a few layers if you really want to go intense, but it's a really easy way of just getting to know paints and what things will look like. Because you can progress from like a red wash then onto like a blood effect. But, you know, it's up to you, but all that comes in time. You kind of just want to just get a feel for it all, really. Especially if you're new to painting. If you're not new to painting, you'll probably never know everything about it. Unless you do it all day, every day, in which case you're very lucky or have worked very hard. Probably the latter, because I don't think many people who can afford to do this hobby, because as we all know, it's a very expensive hobby. Not everyone who can afford to do it get to spend all their time doing it, unfortunately. What a world we would live in if we could just, do our hobbies all the time. Would we get bored? I mean, I'm not sure I'd get bored by that. I could do this. I could literally sit here all day, every day, and do this. And that would give me time to do other things like be active and go to the gym. Okay, cool, that's that step done. And you could stop there, right? That is a perfectly valid place to stop and say, right, that's ready to put on the table and go and kill some, I don't know, tau. It's a bit too much in the mouth there, so I'll just draw that away. So what's next? Well, next is the first of like the highlight stages. So we're going to do 2 highlights on the carapace. And that's where we're going to use our wet palette. Oh, sorry, 3 highlight stages. So we're going to use 4 highlight stages. We're going to use a Shabty Bone and Corax White for the carapace, and then Administratum Grey for the claws, and then Filgrim Pink just to pick out some of those other details that we've only just washed. So by the time we get around to that, those layers of wash should be dry, and we can just highlight and pick them out. Now there will be an extra secret colour right at the end that I've forgotten to put in this palette, but that's okay. Cool, so get rid of that dry brush, that piece of wood, and the dry brush and all those bits. Right, sorry, that was dead air for a second really, wasn't it? Now, for the layering. So you can see my layering video, probably on the screen now. If not, I haven't done my job correctly. We just want to thin this paint down a little bit, so put some water on our palette, put the paint on there, swizz it around a bit until it's kind of like the consistency of milk. Get a brush on the paper towel, draw some of it away, and then we're going to test it on our thumb. We're going to see if it's too thin. To me that looks too thin for this. So what we want is we want a nice, not quite transparent layer, but a nice sort of mixture between transparent and opaque, so half transparent, let's say. What we're going to do is we're going to go around all of these chitinous bits, the still too thin, the carapace. We're just going to go, and this isn't an exact art with the mixing of paint and water. It's, you know, people get frustrated and they say, you know, but what ratio of water do you use to paint? You'll never get someone to accurately describe it on a video, and it's just something you kind of have to learn which paints do what, because they all act differently. And even the same, so if you've got this sort of cream colour, sort of bone colour from a different range, it will act completely differently to the one in the Games Workshop range, just because of how the company make it. There you go. So I've just gone around the outside of these on the edges, just to make these just more clearly defined and sort of pick them out from the slightly similar colour that is in the green. Now you saw I made a mistake just then. It's just down here. I've gone over the lines. Well, I've washed my brush, I've dabbed on the paper towel so it's dry, and now I'm going to just draw that out of there. There you go. So there's no longer paint between there. It was sort of, don't know if you saw it, but it was sort of running along there. Very subtle, but probably thought I should fix it before I move on. Okay, so what this stage also does is if there's a bit of graininess in the dry brushing, which there's a tiny bit on this as well, it dilutes that so you can't see it. And the reason we dry brushed and then used a transparent paint and then went on to layer highlight, is not only because obviously, you know, you can bring your guys to this sort of standard without the highlighting, put them on the table and have a good game, and then get back home later on and then start doing this over time rather than just trying to hurriedly rush them out to above tabletop standard. But one of the reasons we've done that dry brushing step underneath, and then put transparent paint over it, so that now we have a guide. You can see here on this scale, this plate, you can see where you need to highlight because there's almost a line draw there. So there's a line there, there's a line here, but that line goes over into like a round shape, so we're just going to put our layer of colour on that. There's not a light line there, but I know I want to link that up to the next part. Okay, well, there's a line down here. Just going to make that stand out a bit more, give that a bit more contrast than it already had. You know, oh look, it's a little bit green up here at the top where I've accidentally gone over when I did the dry brush stage. Well, that's okay, I can easily rectify that by painting this bone colour on. And that's, you know, that's the power of slap chop really. Whoops, see another mistake, but again, clean your brush. The paint is so thin at this point that you can easily control it and it doesn't dry straight away. There you go. The last part of this is on the head, so we will just do that. We're just going to draw a line where the underpainting tells us we need to draw a line. There you go, perfect. Okay, we're going to do exactly the same thing again, but only cover like 50% of that area, but with Corax white. Okay. Okay, so thin that down, probably not thin enough, just going to put a little bit more in, wick it away on the paper towel. Still too thick. I can tell because it's drawing a really, really solid and really opaque line. We want this to be quite transparent. Yeah, that's better. Just a bit too much on the brush. Okay, cool. So again, just going to draw on the lines that the miniature is telling us to draw on. So tops, there, there, just down here. And we don't want this to be very strong at all. It's just a thin layer just to make it stand out from the body a bit more. Just go around like that. If you really wanted to, you could put dots on the highest points just to make them stand out a little bit more. Anyway, there you go. There's that one of our birds really cutely squeaking in the background. His name's Pippin. Right, there you go. Carry on, just go around, draw the lines in. Not too fussed about, you know. If we go slightly askew on the plate, because, you know, we trying to create an organic gribbly, not a robot. And then just on the head, we're just going to do the tops of the scales. If you're worried about your brush control, don't be. Just go slower. There we go. Right. There's that done. The next part is to highlight the black parts, so the claws and the nails. So again, same stuff. Get your paint, put a bit of water in it. This time, I'm going to do almost like a thin glaze layer. So I've thinned this paint right down, taken most of it off, and I'm going to just colour the whole thing in, pretty much, just where the underpainting shines through. Oh, my brush split open a little bit there. Do the same thing on all the claws. See if we can get that in focus. The foot there. Do that on all the claws. Just kind of almost do like a. It's a bit thick. Just a solid line. Of that. Just a bit thin down. Just like that. We can go around quite quickly. We don't need to take, you know, too much time. And just one line will do. If you can see it doesn't look quite right, just go and add a line to the underside of it, like for these claws, for instance, these little ones. Why won't that stay in focus? Come on, silly. There you go. So I don't think I'm going to need to go over these fingernails again. I think they look fine. It's these big claws we need to worry about. So we're just going to add. When we keep that paint thin, we're going to add a really transparent layer first, and then go back and then do another highlight, just to make them look a little bit better. So I'll show you on this one. There. So transparent, draw it to the end. This is like a glaze. Get on there, get on there. You do that around the finger, so around the claw. Give it a nice, almost like a gradient, which is pretty cool. Get on this one, do the same thing. There you go. And once it's dried, so this other hand here, that's already dry. Whoops. Just going to do a bit of a thicker layer. So I'm going to add some more paint into the same place. Draw it off the brush. Just the budgies don't agree. Just test it, edge highlighting on my thumb, and then do exactly what I just did on my thumb, but on this claw, just to make a line. And that will define, you know, these razor sharp claws. So when someone's looking, like, oh, that's the business end of that gene stealer. Oops, got a bit over there, but I'll wipe it away with my finger because it's still a bit wet. And just do that. There you go. There they are. They look pretty nasty, those claws. Right, the last highlight layer we're going to do, we're just going to pick out some of these squishy bits. Shake up your Fulgrim pink. Put some on the palette. Again, make it slightly thin by adding some water to it. And then there we go. That's good enough. And all we're going to do here is where the elbows are, we're going to just pick out the ends of the elbows. You can leave it without this if you want. I quite like it. It makes it kind of draw the eye in a little bit. I'm not going to do it on any of the other bits because I think it's just too fiddly. And it just means you're going to ruin these nice lines that the shade has given you. So 1, 2, 3, 4, they're done. Then what we can do, this is really important, you keep your wrists together on this part. Wrists together, just slow, keep breathing. I'll zoom in a little bit. We are just going to put some of this pink colour on the eye. It's a little bit too thick. I'm going to take some off the brush with the paper towel. Sorry, not too thick, it's a little bit too runny. I'm going to try and do this without messing up. We're going to pop this just on the eye, make it look like it's staring us down. There you go. Give that eye a little bit of a brighter tinge. Just do the same on this side. I quite like this scheme actually. It's kind of grim dark. It's a little bit, you know, natural and organic. Well, very natural and organic. Yeah. There you go. And for all intents and purposes, that is done. I'm going to add one extra step. That because this is for a commission, and what the client wanted was some like brown spots. So I'll take this and then thin this Rhinox hide down a little bit so it easily flows off the brush. When I say easy, I mean if I put the brush on my thumbnail after putting it on the paper towel and I can just draw a little dot like that, that's good enough. And what I'm going to do is, if it'll focus, there you go, just going to go around these bits and just put dots on there, and you can see like the paint is almost coming away like a runny pen. That's the aim, that's what we're aiming for. There you go. I'm going to do the same here. I might do a larger spot on the larger scales, and then as I go towards the end, just taper them down to make them look a bit more natural. Same up here. But yeah, I'll do this all around. Go back to the palette when I need to. This, I mean, it might be the longest step on this. I'm not sure it is. Maybe the drying. The drying definitely takes longer than this. But I think a little detail like this really helps to add character and even just a bit of realism if that's what you're after in your miniatures. Just because it makes it kind of less formulaic. I do like adding sort of details like this to my own Tyranids. Oh, focus. I'm not going to put any on the head scales because I found that looks too busy. But what I do with this is I put some on the head just to make it sort of blend in a bit. So it's got a lot of open area just on the skull. And then we're just going to taper that down really gently. If you mess up here, don't worry, you can just paint over the entire section with Ogren Camo. Go back and do exactly the same on the other side. More random the better. Let's go back to the paint. Put some on your brush, control it with the paper towel, and then just carry on. That's this guy almost done actually. Remember how I'm doing this with the brown paint, because I'll show you after this what I did for the Tyranid warriors. Because this commission is for a kill team, or at least it was for a kill team, and then my client wanted the whole thing painted, the whole Gene Stealer box set painted. So it went from being 5 Gene Stealers and 3 Tyranid warriors to 10 Gene Stealers and 3 Tyranid warriors. Anyway, so there you go. That is this guy done. I think for the most part I filmed every single part of it apart from the drying, and it maybe has taken less than an hour and a half. I'm going to say an hour and a half. I did speed some of the footage up hopefully. Anyway, here is a Tyranid warrior painted in exactly the same way. Right. I've highlighted the extra pink details, and I've highlighted the teeth with white. Other than that, it's all painted exactly the same way. The spots took forever, but they were really enjoyable to paint. As you can see, I've done the same thing with the spots on the weapons, but I've used black instead of brown. So yeah, you can let your imagination run wild and do this scheme on any Tyranid miniature. So anyway, I do hope that you have enjoyed this. I've got one more of these to paint, and I'm pretty proud of this guy's pose. Like that, there you go. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'm going to hand you back to the Will, who is sitting there and who's going to do the outro and thank everyone and thank all the patrons and that. So thank you. So that's how I paint Hive Fleet Gorgon. I think it's pretty quick. I think it's pretty good. I think, well, I mean, you saw in the video how long it took. It took from the beginning to the end of my painting section, which took longer than it would normally take for me to paint them, because I was also explaining how to paint. So it's a quick one. You'll be able to get your Hive Fleet Gorgon out in no time at all using that process. If you did like the video, please like, comment and subscribe. And also, if you want some more content via like Patreon or something, this PDF is also already available there on Patreon for you to use. I think it's the Beast of Gore tier, which is about maybe £7.50 a month, $10 a month. Your support there amazes me, and I thank every single one of you, and every single one of you who's still watching this video now as well. Thank you so much, it means a lot to me. There's a shout out to my patrons coming up, and you won't see me after that, so goodbye, happy painting, and I'll see you next time.